just know that the AutoCAD 0 degree start from 3 o'clock, and in AutoCAD we measure angle anti-clockwise. Though you can override that, you can decide to measure your angle clockwise. So how do we do that? Now, if you look at this note, you can figure out so the angle at which you need to draw your line. All the explanation here is what I was trying to explain. Looking at the diagram, you are given 150, but you have to do some calculation on your own to know the equivalent, what would be in AutoCAD, that is the equivalence of this angle in AutoCAD, considering that we start measuring from 3 o'clock and 0 start from there anti-clockwise. So what we are saying here is, when you draw your line with angular direction, we call it polar coordinates. So in summary, there are 4 ways to enter distance or to enter points in AutoCAD. So the first one is absolute coordinate. The second one is relative coordinate. The third one is polar coordinate, while the last one is direct distance entry. Okay, let me quickly demonstrate 4 of them. Okay, let's cross-select this and delete. Now let's start from units. If I type units, I want to be sure my unit is in millimeter. Okay, good, it's in millimeter. So you look at the insertion scale. On the insertion scale, make sure that displays millimeter. So I just type units in plural in the command window and I press enter. That displays the unit. Then I need to zoom. In AutoCAD, if you want to zoom, you can come, if you are using AutoCAD 2013 and above, you will have this navigation bar. So here, if you under zoom, you can click this arrow and select zoom all. So when you zoom all your origin will be shown, will be located on the screen. So I want to draw a point at that starts from 50, 100. Then the second point goes to minus 100, minus 300. So the coordinate of my first point is 50, 100. The coordinate of the second point is minus 100, minus 300. Everything is in millimeters. So that is what we want to draw now. Now, when you have a predetermined point like this, we call it absolute coordinate. That is, I know the point of all, I know the coordinate of all the points on my drawing. So it's a line. So I have the first point, I have the second point. So if I come here and I say, I start line command. Now there are many ways to start line command, but let's start from here by clicking line here. Okay, AutoCAD says specify the first point. You have to be looking at the command window. It's very important that you look at the command window here. Look at my mouse. So the command window says you have picked line command. That's the meaning of that line. The AutoCAD now says specify the first point. My first point is 50, 0. So I'm going to type 50, 0. You don't need to click in the command window, just type, it should be there. Press enter. So that is where my 50, 100 is. So it means along x-axis, this point is at 50 from origin. Then along y-axis, it is 100. Then the next point is minus 100, minus 300. So AutoCAD says specify the next point. I don't need to click, I don't need to come and click here. I will just type minus 100, minus 300. No space between what you are typing. Just press enter. So since I'm true, I don't have any other point, I will press enter again or escape on your keyboard. So that is the line. So this is our first point up there. The second point is down here. So how do I move this drawing? It was formerly like this. I can come here, I can click pan. So I can use pan. It looks like the hand of a person. So that is pan. When you click pan 2, then if you are using 2010 and below, you may locate pan 2 around, look at my mouse, around somewhere here. You can locate pan 2. So that is absolute coordinate. Now let's come here. Let's say I have this rectangle. Let's say I have this rectangle that I want to draw, and I only know this point, but the point here I don't know it. I just know that the length of this rectangle is 50. I know it is 50. Please don't mind, I'm using paint to illustrate this. And I mean, and the width is 100, or rather the length is 100, the width is 50. So, but I don't have a specific point to start. I only know the length to be 100 and the width to be 50. You can use relative coordinates to do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start line command. Then I will start at a point. Since I don't know a particular point, let's start at this point. But I needed to draw a line. Let's say this is the point where I started, this point here. Let me circle it. Let's say I started at this point. I need to draw a line up by 50. So what I'm going to do, since my cursor is already up, look at the command window, it's waiting for the next point. I will say at, I will type at, symbol at, as in at yahoo.com, at gmail.com, that symbol at. Then since the distance I need is vertically up, and that distance is along the y-axis, you can see the direction of y. So I don't need distance along x-axis. I only want to move up by 50. I'm not moving along x-axis. So I will now say at 0, 50. That is, move at 0 along x-axis, move at 50 along y-axis. If I press enter, it's drawing that line for me. Though it's small, I'm zooming using the scroll button on my mouse. If you are using external mouse, you can scroll. You can't do that with your laptop mouse pad, but you can do that easily with it. But with your external mouse, you can use an external mouse. You can use the scroll button on your mouse to zoom to see your drawing in a bigger way. Then you can press the scroll button. Now there are 3 buttons on your mouse: the left button, the right button, and the button in the middle, that the wheel, the scroll wheel rather. Sorry, the scroll wheel. So if you rotate the wheel, your drawing will be zoomed. If you press down the wheel, you can move the drawing about. Just press it and be moving the drawing. You can move it about. So I need to draw this horizontal line 100, and that is along x-axis. I'm not increasing y, but I'm increasing x along by 100. So if I come back here, don't forget my command is still active, my cursor is still hooked. Don't press any other thing. If you make a mistake, you can start again. So I will say at 100, 0. Now this time around it is x bearing 0, but it is y bearing 0, x is bearing 100. Don't forget that anything, something is, x is always the first, y is the second. So I'm moving by 100 units along x-axis, and y-axis remains 0. So I will press enter, it is drawn. Then, to come down, that is also 50. You know, in a rectangle, opposite sides are equal. So I need to move down by 50. So what I will do is that I will say at, but the distance, the movement is opposite direction, down now, negative. It's negative down, and it's along y-axis. So I will say at 0, x doesn't have anything, comma, minus 50. Press enter. Why minus? Because I'm moving in negative direction of y. I'm moving down, not up. So that is that. Then you can click here. If this symbol appears, we call it object snap. Now, it will only appear if you enable this object snap. I've already disabled. You can see that it's not appearing. Without it, you cannot pick an exact point. You can't pick an exact point. But when you enable it, it's going to guide you to pick an exact point. Another thing you can do, instead of clicking here, you can type C. Look at the command window. It says specify next point or close or undo. So if you type the first letter C, if you type C and press enter, it's going to close the rectangle automatically, or you use object snap to close it. So that is relative coordinate. Now let's try to work with the third one. So we have worked with absolute coordinate, relative coordinate where we are using at. Then let's look at the polar coordinate.